The cheating fiancé tried to blame me for her affair. I told her to get lost.
I'll start from the beginning.
Yesterday, my fiancé and I were at the venue of our wedding, which was supposed to happen in 4 months, to discuss the final details with the staff. We went there separately since she came straight from work. Near the end of the meeting, my fiancé said that her friend had returned the rental car and she needed to drive her home.
She asked if I minded.
I agreed, not paying much attention since the venue was close to our home, and I know her friend well. When I got home, I tried to call my fiancé for the next 3 hours, but she didn't answer. Around 1:30 a.m., I messaged her friend to check if everything was okay and whether my fiancé had gotten to her. I was very worried. Eventually, my fiancé came back and apologized, saying it took longer than she thought because her friend decided to chat with some friends and she had to wait for her. I told her it was okay but asked her to please warn me next time so I wouldn't worry. A few minutes later, her friend finally replied to me, apologizing that she couldn't make it to the wedding venue.
I asked my fiancé if she hadn't actually met her friend that evening. Why was her friend saying something else?
I was confused and asked why she lied to me. She said she didn't know and couldn't control what her friend said, but something felt very off to me.
I looked through her phone. Yes, I did, and I don't regret it at all.
I saw that as soon as my fiancé got home, she called the friend who had messaged me right after her arrival.
I also noticed a 1-hour call with an unknown number.
On the way to the wedding venue, I asked my fiancé which company her friend rented the car from and asked a few other questions. She answered quickly, and everything seemed plausible. I thought maybe I was going crazy, so I decided to calm down and think it through carefully in the morning. This morning, I asked my fiancé to show me the message from her friend asking for a ride, promising to apologize for doubting her.
She refused. Then I asked about the phone call I saw when I met her on the way to the wedding venue. Who was she talking to?
She said it was the friend she later gave a ride to. That's when I knew for sure she was lying. I told her I checked her phone and knew it wasn't true. Then she changed her story, saying she had to meet a colleague first to discuss a patient.
I asked, who is this colleague, and why couldn't you discuss it by phone?
You said you had to show him the technique in person. She said his name was Michael.
I was skeptical.
We had never lied to each other before. I asked to see her chats with Michael, but she refused again.
I asked why. If you have nothing to hide, or are you cheating on me? Do you not want to be with me anymore?
She hesitated and started listing everything that was supposedly wrong with me. I work too much, don't give her enough time, and so on.
I was shocked.
It was a complete surprise.
I put all the facts together and realized something was wrong. I asked to see the messages again and persuaded her for about half an hour.
The messages turned out to be explicitly sexual, about how she laughed about being with him and how they were in love. There was a lot of criticism directed at me as well.
My fiancé got this job about a month and a half ago.
He is her colleague, 15 to 20 years older, divorced, and has several kids. I financially supported her the last few months while she was getting on her feet. I worked overtime so she wouldn't have to work part-time.
We bought a house with 3 dogs and a horse. Sorry for the long story, but I'm just shocked. I never expected this.
And our wedding was supposed to happen in 4 months. Any advice is appreciated. So, let's pause this video now and leave advice for the author in the comments.
Moving on to the update. Update 1. Tonight, I finally managed to discuss what happened with my fiancé.
She immediately started blaming me for everything, trying to justify her cheating and lies with my communication problems and the fact that I allegedly didn't listen to her. She said she wouldn't have started talking to that guy if I hadn't spent too much time at work and given her enough attention. I tried to explain that I worked overtime to support our family while she had difficulties and to prevent her from having to get a side job. She said she would have preferred a side job, which made no sense to me. She was sure it was just a short fling, only a week, and they kissed just once. We could get through it. When I reminded her about the messages where she insulted me and talked openly with him, she immediately avoided the answer, and the conversation went nowhere. I told my fiancé that I'm not to blame for this situation. She went too far and should have either talked to me or at least thought about the consequences. But now I will never be able to trust her again. It's entirely her actions' fault. If she wants to justify and shift blame to me, that's her choice. By the end of the conversation, we calmed down a bit. I said, listen, we just need to solve the issue with the house we bought together and the 3 dogs. We concluded that either I stay and buy out her share or we sell the house and split. As for the dogs, one of us gets 1 dog, the other 2. That's it for now. I'll keep you updated. I'm curious how you would handle the house financially. I can afford to keep it by myself, but it's a 280 square meter house with 2 hectares of land that we bought solely for her horse. She's taking the horse and will keep it in a stable. Update 2, Day 3. Tonight, I had a 3-hour conversation with her. We discussed our relationship and what led to this situation. She started by listing my mistakes: lack of communication, too much work, constantly being on my phone.
I don't deny any of that.
My motivation to work so much was to support our family. I have an additional e-commerce business, I handle customer support myself, and deals happen 24/7.
I'm literally always working.
Of course, I could better control my phone time and postpone replies till the next day.
Communication problems were on both of us, and I didn't even know she was unhappy.
She said she was afraid I'd get upset if she spoke up but didn't give me a chance to fix things. I'm not perfect, and sometimes she took my words or actions as rudeness. For example, a week or two ago, I tried to help her with budgeting and finances to make a plan to get back on her feet. I work in finance and do that constantly for clients. She once said she owed me $1 and would pay it back from her salary. I replied something like, "I think it's a bit more, let's check the transfers on our joint account." It turned out she owed over $5. I didn't want to embarrass her, just show how much I contribute to our budget. She took it as shame and said I was too obsessed with money. My goal was just to keep our finances in order since we had big wedding expenses coming up, and I tried to calculate everything. What really bothers me is that she tries to justify her cheating by blaming my faults. She keeps saying she's shocked that I'm throwing away 7 years of our relationship, and I always have to remind her, it wasn't me who threw it away, she did, with her actions. She also said I told many people about what happened too quickly and that we could have worked it out privately. She added that she wouldn't have needed to talk to anyone else if I was a better listener and conversationalist. I finally found out how far things went. Judging by the messages, she and her colleague started talking 1 or 2 weeks ago. They only exchanged messages, except some in-person time at work. He invited her to a park to play basketball and talk, she went, and they kissed. I really believe nothing happened beyond that, but it would have been inevitable soon.
Obviously, she claims he's not her boyfriend.
Tonight, she went somewhere again, and I have no idea where. Most likely, she's spending time with him or a friend.
They live together now.
I feel extremely awkward but hope things will be resolved soon. It seems she wants me to give her a chance and try to restore our relationship, but I don't think I'll ever trust her again. The easiest solution would be to forgive and try again, but I'm sure I wouldn't be truly happy that way. Understanding the root causes helped me calm down a bit. It lets me work on myself, my communication mistakes, and see the situation from another perspective. Today, I started going to the gym. I also plan to resume preparation for the CFP, Certified Financial Planner, certification. I took a week off to focus on my mental health. Today, I called the wedding agency and officially canceled the wedding. We managed to get only part of the money back unless they resell the venue to another couple, which is unlikely. I also talked again with her parents to keep them informed. They live far away and probably worry about their daughter. I assured them everything was calm and nothing to worry about. I researched mortgage rates, and with current interest, I won't find another house with the same monthly payment. For this money, I can barely find a smaller apartment. The best option is probably to buy out her share and keep the house. She seems to agree. We will call an appraiser to determine the value of the house and her share, and then I'll decide if it's realistic for me.
Questions for you: has your opinion on the situation changed after these new details? Am I handling the situation right? What would you do differently? Update 3.
Almost a month has passed since this whole situation started.
It was an intense, emotional, and eventful month.
I won't lie, in the first days after everything happened, I was a pathetic sight, literally humiliating myself trying to get her back, clinging to her treacherous hands. It's embarrassing to admit, but that was part of the breakup process. Being so vulnerable, I tried to do everything right, fix the situation, but nothing worked. At some point, she told me directly she had to choose me or him, and she made the right choice by choosing him. I think that's when I finally woke up and realized I had let my self-esteem hit rock bottom. I needed to take a step back and focus on myself and my interests. After 7 years spent caring for someone else, it was hard to switch focus to myself, but that's what I'm doing. Since then, I transferred our joint savings to my personal account, counted how much money was mine, and returned the rest to our joint account so she could take her share.
I started working out every day since the breakup. Sport not only improves my physical shape but also helps keep my mind clear.
I bought a suit, did a massage course, started spending more time with friends and family. In general, the relationship with her has faded, a red flag, but I didn't notice it at the time. Before, I never bought clothes for myself. I was always thinking about providing for her and our animals. Now, I try to do something for myself. For the first time in my life, I started seeing a psychotherapist once a week, and it helps me understand the situation and make decisions.
I think I will continue even after everything is settled. I like that I'm working on myself now. To more important points.
I still live in the same house with my ex, but now she sleeps in the guest room. We hardly talk, only when necessary, like, "Did you feed the dogs?" I think she's a terrible person, but she, regardless of what I say, believes in her mind that I'm to blame for everything. Blaming someone for poor communication and then using it as an excuse not to talk about problems and change, that's hypocrisy. She lives in her imaginary world, and I stopped trying to convince her of anything because it's pointless. I've already started the house selling process. I found an agent, agreed on a price, but then she suddenly asked me to contact 2 more agents to get their opinions, one recommended by her friend. Sure, I made the calls, set up meetings, and met with all the agents. That was always how it was in our relationship. I always did everything, and she just pointed out what else I needed to do. It's unfair, but I agreed just to finish everything faster. In the end, we still chose the first agent, took photos of the house on Sunday, and that same evening put it up for sale. This Saturday is an open house day, and there's already a lot of interest from buyers. She's planning to move the horse to some stable. We discussed the dogs. I offered to take one or leave her all 3. She said she'd keep all 3 so as not to separate them. They're really happy together, and I don't want to fight over them. Also, honestly, it gives me a chance for a truly clean start. A week ago, I met a girl with whom I started spending a lot of time. I don't have high expectations, but I just like talking to her. She went through a similar situation in the past and helps me cope. It's very unusual to talk with a kind, caring, and independent woman. It made me realize how selfish my ex was. Warnings to family and friends. I definitely fell into a routine trap. I wasn't enjoying life but just living in a comfortable, familiar environment, a nice house, large territory, cool animals. I didn't want to ruin the stability. So I kept going on autopilot. Some may say it was 7 lost years, but I used this experience as a lesson. I won't ignore red flags in relationships anymore. I won't let myself get trapped by comfort. I will keep in touch with family and friends, not sacrifice them for relationships. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on my post. I wrote it because I didn't know what to do. Each of you who took the time to help a stranger on the internet, incredible people. I read every comment and look forward to the next chapter of my life, wherever it leads me. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Update 4. Quite a lot of time has passed since the last update. It's hard to believe this all happened more than 4 months ago. Over time, it's gotten much easier. If anyone comes across a similar situation, I hope they understand that time really heals. I lived in the same house with my ex until mid-May. It was hard to be around her and the dogs, knowing my old life was over. We were just neighbors who couldn't stand each other. I tried to avoid her as much as possible, but I couldn't avoid it completely. We slept in different rooms, but the doors stayed open so the dogs could go back and forth. After a few weeks, she almost stopped spending nights outside the house, but her constant texting and calls didn't stop. I think she and that guy decided not to continue the relationship but just stay friends. I'm not sure. That's just my guess. She moved out in mid-May, taking 2 of the 3 dogs. Saying goodbye was terrible. The loss felt like someone close died. The last month of my life in that house, I met my ex and the dogs a couple of times in the park. They were happy to see me, but I noticed they'd already gotten used to their new life, which calmed me down a bit. She moved to an old house in a not very good neighborhood. There was a yard but no fence, and she wanted to finish building it. During this time, I went to the gym every day and worked on my business. I realized life would become more expensive and wanted to prepare. Between March and June 15th, when I finally moved out, my business brought in 6 figures. I didn't make big purchases, which allowed me to save a decent sum, plus money from selling the old house. Thanks to this, I was able to easily afford a nice house in a good area with a spacious yard for the dog that stayed with me. Selling the old house went smoothly, but buying a new one was difficult. Fortunately, the buyers of my old house let me rent it from them for another month while I looked for new housing. I made 5 offers on different houses, and only the last one was accepted. At the end of May, living in the old house after my ex left was tough. It was full of memories. Especially after she took 2 dogs, it felt empty. Moving was hard, but friends and family helped a lot. Now I've been living in my new house for over a month, and every day it feels more and more like a real home. I'm still seeing that girl and now we're officially in a relationship. I live closer to her, which is very convenient. She treats me well, and I'm lucky she came into my life. She helped me get through this period and understands my mood swings and need for personal space. I've never been in a relationship where someone treated me so well. It makes me better. I feel emotionally more mature. Although this was one of the hardest trials of my life, I'm glad it happened. I was going to marry a selfish, ungrateful woman. I lived in a routine because it was comfortable and didn't want to break stability for my own happiness. Now I'm working on myself and learning to understand what I really want. I will also do everything to make sure my dog lives as well as possible. I often think about my ex, remembering both good and bad moments. But my therapist helped me realize that I probably will never get an apology from her. She's too proud to admit she was wrong. We barely talk. I don't plan to meet her or the 2 other dogs again. I decided that's best for everyone. If you have questions, write them in the comments, and I'll answer. But this story is over for me, and I won't write any more posts. Thanks to everyone who followed and supported me, you helped me more than you can imagine. Now I look forward to the next chapter of my life, wherever it takes me. Thanks, that's the end of the story. Write in the comments what you think about it. Personally, I think all these accusations from him and his fiancée might have been true. But that's no reason to justify cheating. If you're unhappy with your partner, you should talk to them. If talking doesn't work, then of course you can cheat. But don't blame them for anything. What's the point of those accusations? She cheated, and he cheated. Well, they parted ways and said goodbye. But of course, in real life, everyone always blames each other for something, and everyone thinks they're right. Thanks for watching this video till the end. Watch our previous videos here, and good luck.